Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Glad tidings and beautiful blessings coming your way from us here at Good Morning Uganda. Good morning. Today is a Thursday, a day when we throw back to many things. I don't know what you want to throw back to, or something that jogs your mind and brings you a smile. Well, in some cases you may not smile, but in most cases when we are thinking about something to throw back to, we normally think of something that brings warmth to our hearts. Now, as this morning begins, and of course this morning has been a bit chilly, not so cold, but of course it is different, and it is a new development from what we've been experiencing in the last couple of days with the heat wave. So I hope you got some rains yesterday. I did, and I hope that helped to cool things around a bit. I don't know if things are being cooled around in your pockets. Are you able, or are you one of those people that might lose 100 million at a washing bill like one member of parliament? But also the questions that are arising: why did he have 100 million shillings in his car? Some people are wondering, why would you move around with so much money? And others are like, why not? I mean, those are two bundles of 50s in 50-50 notes. I don't know if there were two bundles, but all I'm saying is some people are saying that's not so much money for someone to carry from a bank to a car. Probably they were going to pay some salaries and whatnot. Well, we will be able to delve deeper into that. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, before I speak to Joram Paul Sonko and Robert Chirabonyonyintono, also yesterday in the news, 5 former Equity Bank employees were remanded after defrauding the bank of 62 billion shillings, which they were giving away to people as unsecured loans. Yes. And of course, there was a closed caucus meeting at the National Unity Platform Party where some members of parliament didn't show up, and among those was actually Medard Lubega Segona, who sent his apologies for not showing up, and of course Mwanga Chivumbi, among others. But also some members of parliament claim not to have been invited to this meeting. That and more is what will be coming up in our discussions here on Good Morning Uganda. So sit tight and have your cup of coffee, preferably Ugandan coffee, and let's dive deeper into this. Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you. I must say you look good in a Zeta. What do you call that?
Mustard yellow and some flowers, yeah.
Okay, let's go with that. Now, I'm just enjoying my country. Much as sometimes you feel stressed. Something happens, and with social media, you either laugh or you look at people's reactions. Now, yesterday, the papers ran a certain member of parliament who was robbed of 118 million, and you've just mentioned him. Now, we were wondering, who could this be? Now, by closure of business, some journalists interacted with the honorable member of parliament, and he said, but he was wondering, why would one even be shocked that a man of his stature who has worked, he said, I work hard. And actually it wasn't 118, it was 120 million, but I just paid someone 2 million. So he didn't see any cause for alarm. But you see, I want to borrow the words of some politician who said that one time the poor will have nothing to eat except the rich. Now, to him, because of the social classes we've had, the different classes, to him, this was real. Little money.
Pocket change.
Pocket change. To my partner here on set, she starts telling me, people are used to handling money. But that was just 2 bundles of something like that. But to the people they represent, this was a hell lot of money. And the question is, you know, today the world has gone digital, there's technology. Even if I'm to pay people, I don't have to move with money. I just instruct my bank So what kind of monies are those that people are moving within vehicles? They can't put them on their accounts and carry out e-transaction.
Well, Chirabo, if you want to look at it that way, of course, they say when you dig for something, you're definitely going to find it. But the assumption is that everyone has embraced e-banking.
Yes.
But the reality is that not everyone has. I remember in my experience as a banker, people would come in with sacks. Like we would literally pay them and they take the money out in sacks. Because some people do not want a paper trail. Some people prefer receiving their money cash. For instance, if you have a building site, a construction site, most of those workers would prefer that you pay them cash, right?
True. But at least you have about an engineer to send to wire this money to, and then
In most
he'll
cases,
do.
you may do the
But
payments yourself.
I'm very tempted. I'm tempted to believe
that
most of the people who shun such institutions, that money is not from clean hands. This is my opinion. I'm tempted to believe.
Trouble.
that
The
is your
banking sector in
assumption.
Uganda only has 21% of the active bankers, which clearly shows you that not only
But stature here
matters.
That's
Ugandans-
79%.
exactly, which shows 79% of Ugandans are not interested in banking or in saving with financial institutions for matters that they definitely keep to themselves. But then also, we don't have to rule out the fact that the honorable in question is also a lawyer. And this is something that most of the voters need to understand, that most of the members of parliament are also having life away from politics. So
That's
that means
very
there is a lot of money they also earn from other jobs they do. So you don't expect one member of parliament to be having only one job as a politician.
And isn't that
he's
what-
a lawyer, if you could.
Exactly, and isn't that what we've been calling
I
for?
think my concern
that
is not-
politicians should have other sources of income so that they do not entirely depend on taxpayers' money, because when they do that, that's how we end up with the parliament exhibition.
I think for me, my concern is not him having that lot of money.
Okay.
My
What's your
concern
concern?
is not using proper financial institutions
But what do you
to
call
create
proper?
high levels of insecurity.
Okay.
If it was a person dealing in cows when I was Uzibente, you know,
In
I
one of
deal
the
with that
you know, in one of
level
the
people.
stories,
They'll tell you,
Monica
"Bring my
shared
money here,
Equity
bring my
Bank,
money to me."
Equity Bank
So-
employees are being
Because you see, if we
put on the
encourage,
pillow.
this way of moving with money, we're encouraging criminality in a world where the poor are left with nothing to eat except the rich.
Okay, I think
That's why I
because
think
of
we should
the
encourage
exhibition-
people-
Chirabo, I think because of the exhibition that has been ongoing, everyone now is worried of our members of parliament. Now, we think that everyone that has a bit of money has probably gotten it through unscrupulous ways. But that may not be the case. Now, I'm not so privy to the affairs of the honorable member of parliament, but I also think that we need to cut him some slack. We don't know for sure if that money was coming from, you know, untrusted sources. And of course, we also understand, yes, there is corruption, there is fraud, but until someone comes out and says, I was defrauded, I think we need to be leveled in our judgment of the member of
briefly,
parliament.
Monica,
Now,
this is what I want to say. We are in a country where we had the NRM treasury at her home, billions stolen, if you remember.
the husband said he had
They were
stolen
actually going to
cars.
bank the
We
money the
have
following
seen
day.
a number of people where they are talking of being robbed of huge amounts of money in cars, in homes, and I think for us to reduce these levels of criminality, and I want to get me clear, there's a gap between the rich and the poor.
True.
And for you, when you have these monies and you don't put them, you don't use e-transaction, you're exposing yourself, leave alone the fact that about 85 has been recovered, but you're exposing yourself to danger. I want to encourage Ugandans, let's go modern. I don't believe anyone would work with a lawyer of that magnitude and you have to pay and you're bringing sacks. You know, so let's encourage, because you're promoting criminality. What if it wasn't just a mere wash bay theft, you know? People will lay him and we lose an honorable member of parliament. So as long as money is in clean hands, let it go. The only fear you may have is when you use these formal methods, it can be detected. You're depositing a check, you have to, there's a source of
There
where
is
the money is
a
coming
paper
from.
trail,
So
yes.
that's why sometimes it beats my understanding that certain people move with sacks, move with huge chunks of money, and I ask at the bottom of my understanding, why then, if this is clean money, you choose to go this way?
Okay, if you raise it like that, especially given that for years we have struggled with being on the blacklist or for money laundering. So yeah, there is something that needs to change. Still, I insist that we cannot 100% be sure if this money that was in the Honorable's car was gotten out of uncivil ways, but we will later find out.
Put yourself in harm's way. We don't
But
want to
still,
lose money.
Also, there is a probability that he was just from withdrawing the money. There is. And if you're done withdrawing money from the bank, still someone may actually be following you and the like. So all of those scenarios are very possible.
Okay, okay. Well, Jerome Paul Sonko, I gather that you're fine and that you're having a beautiful morning.
Yes, I am. It is Thursday, and we're only left with a few days to end the month of March. So clearly, as the Christians are also close to ending their Lent period or Lent season of fasting, you get to realize that, we have to be highly motivated to keep moving. Within the fasting, how we interact with many. But of course, many Ugandans are really not happy with so many things. And of course, when you look at what Chirao has actually mentioned, the reactions from many of the Ugandans towards that information they actually received from the news and of course, the different sources on social media, many were not happy that a member of parliament could carry that huge sum of money. To many, of course, with the ongoing exhibition in Parliament, they do believe that it is not money that was actually got through the rightful means, and that is how far the country is actually heading, that many of the Ugandans are now losing trust in their representatives, which should actually send an alarm or sound an alarm to all our representatives in Parliament that if at all people start pointing fingers at you, even when you are not in wrong, then that means there is a different kind of state our politics at, and then we have to make sure that we change that. But as besides that, I want to believe that today is a day to go harder with hope and of course high expectations, because if you don't move with hope, it is never an easy journey for you when you wake up. Good morning to our dear viewer, and many thanks for joining us today morning.
Well, Chirabo did say that when there will come a time when poor people will have nothing to eat except the rich people. And unfortunately,
Because the gap
rich
is
people
widening.
also include our leaders. So everyone has to really
But
take
when
care.
you talk of our leaders, yesterday, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, kudos to you. I was shocked when he said some of us are tired of being members of parliament. Though the reply when someone
Then
asked
why is
him,
he still
why
in
don't you
parliament?
resign? It was a tough reply there. But he said, some of us are even tired of being members of parliament. And
It's
I was
simple.
like, a dream for many to come true if they only step in that August house. And someone is saying he's even tired of being a member
No,
of
it's
parliament.
okay to be tired, and it's very simple. You're not there by force. So please, 2026 is coming around the corner. Just don't come back.
You wait and see.
It is that simple. But anyway, we will delve into our local news right this minute.
And we'll begin with government's directive to all school inspectors to ensure that all schools that are not authorized by the ministry to be boarding section are closed with immediate effect. Now, government has directed a countrywide inspection of all education institutions with a directive to all district inspectors to close with immediate effect all those operating boarding sections illegally. The State Minister in charge of primary education, Dr. Joyce Kaduchu, said that during the education exhibition at Kololo Independence Grounds, Minister Kaduchu said the Directorate of School Standards and School Inspection has been directed to enforce closure of any primary school, nursery school, early child development operating boarding section without minimum standards. Kaduchu asserts that government will not just look as pupils die in school fires due to negligency of school heads who continue to fault school boarding regulations. Meanwhile, education exhibitors applauded government on the competence-based curriculum that Education Ministry introduced by relieving that it has brought particular improvement and innovation this time than ever before. The Ministry of Education highlighted that emphasis is now going to be put on enhancing quality in the education sector, especially in rural areas. The revelation comes as UPE is celebrating 27 years of existence and many of its products fully productive, meaning taking on sensitive positions in the country's transformational agenda.
Still on school fires, the Minister of Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, has extended her condolences and support to 4 grieving families in Busia, offering 5 million shillings per family for the loss of their children in a tragic fire incident and 1 million shillings for the child who sustained injuries at Victory Nursery and Primary School in Busia municipality earlier this week. Ministry teams conducted inspections at the affected schools, including Victory Nursery and Primary School and Bill and Polly Nursery and Primary School in Mariachi B Southeast Ward, Eastern Division, Busia municipality. Consequently, the closure of these schools has been ordered until further notice. Janet Kataha Museveni's message, conveyed by Ms. Francis Atima, Director of Education Standards, emphasizes the ministry's efforts to disseminate and share basic requirements with local leaders assuming compliance. She underscores the significant role of locals in ensuring schools meet these standards, particularly in Busia, where the ministry has provided guidelines and specific tools despite having basic requirements and minimum standards in place. Wandera Kupoliano, speaking on behalf of grieving families awaiting DNA test results in Mbale, expressed gratitude to the First Lady for her generous contributions towards burial arrangements.
And moving on, the Honorable Minister of State for Internal Affairs, Honorable Oliem Hilary Onek, yesterday afternoon received copies of letters of credentials presented to him by the Ambassador designate of Japan, His Excellency Takuya Sasayama. Ambassador Takuya Sasayama has worked in Japanese Foreign Service since 1988 and arrives in Uganda. Uganda as ambassador designate, replacing Ambassador Fuzukawa Hidimoto, and having previously served as a Consul General of Japan in Toronto, he has had duty tours in Washington, D.C. as well. Honorable Onek welcomed Ambassador Sasayama to Uganda, hailing the long historical friendship with Japan and highlighting Japanese generosity to the government of Uganda and the people of Uganda through technical assistance programs under the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, JICA, and the Tokyo International Conference for Africa Development. Honorable Okello stressed that government of Uganda appreciates the spirit with which Japan approaches matters of development assistance with Africa, particularly the mutual respect and equal partnership extended to those who receive her offers. Uganda highly appreciates Japanese readiness to listen to her bilateral partners and the spirit of non-interference in relations to bilateral partnerships.
Now focusing on drugs, delegates from Burundi's National Drug Authority are currently visiting Uganda's National Drug Authority to exchange knowledge on testing protocols for rubber products like condoms and test tubes. Their focus is on understanding Uganda's procedures for drug and medical device importation and exportation. Board Chairman, National Drug Authority, Dr. Medad Bitecherezo, assured that delegates of comprehensive insights they would gain into drug testing methodologies. During the two-day visit, delegates will tour drug laboratories and international airports, witnessing national drug authorities' rigorous testing processes firsthand. This experience aims to equip Burundian delegates with practical knowledge to enhance drug safety measures in their jurisdiction. Now moving on to international news. Working in extreme heat can double the risk of stillbirth and miscarriage for pregnant women, according to new research from India. The study found that the risks to mothers-to-be are significantly higher than previously thought. Researchers say hotter summers can affect not only women in tropical climates, but also in countries such as the United Kingdom. They want specific health advice for working pregnant women globally. 800 pregnant women in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu took part in the study, which was started in 2017 by the Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research in Chennai. About half of those who took part worked in jobs where they were exposed to high levels of heat, such as agriculture, brick kilns, and salt flats. The others worked in cooler environments such as schools and hospitals, although some workers were also exposed to very high levels of heat in those jobs too. There is no universal threshold for what level of heat is considered to be too hot for the human body. The impact of heat is relative to what you're used to and what your body is used to, said Professor Jen Hurst, one of the scientists who contributed to the study. And moving on, a U.S. man accused of killing thousands of protected birds has pleaded guilty to conspiring to hunt and traffic bald and golden eagles. Travis John Branson, 48, shot the birds over several years and sold their parts and feathers on the black market. In text messages sent to a buyer, he bragged about committing felonies and going on a killing spree. He faces up to 5 years in prison when he is sentenced on 31st July in federal court. On Wednesday, Brandon, 48, pleaded guilty to conspiracy, illegal trafficking of bald and golden eagles, and violations of a law that prohibits interstate trafficking in illegally possessed wildlife. He faces fines of around $250,000 US dollars. From 2015 to 21, Branson would travel from his home in Washington state to western Montana for the illegal hunt. And now focusing on Kenya, the Kenyan government says it will release some of the bodies belonging to victims of the Shakahola starvation cult next week. At least 34 bodies have been identified and linked to their families out of the hundreds that were exhumed last year. The bodies of 429 people, including children, were dug up from graves in Shakahola, a remote forest outside the coastal town of Malindi. Most showed signs of starvation and assault. Survivors and victims' families said self-proclaimed pastor Paul Mackenzie encouraged members of Good News International Church to move there and prepare for the end of the world. Survivors say he instructed them to fast so that they could get to heaven. The government will counsel victims' families but will not assist them to transport the bodies for burial, said Chief Government Pathologist Dr. Johansen Oduo on Wednesday. Mr. Mackenzie has denied responsibility for the deaths. He and several of his followers are currently on trial for several charges, including terrorism, murder, and torture. Now moving on, experts have criticized the UN's Agriculture Agency for failing to recommend eating less meat in a roadmap to tackle the climate crisis, a charge rebuffed in comments to AFP on March 19th. In a commentary published in the journal Nature Food on March 18th, the scientists said a UN Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, report on how to achieve zero hunger without breaching the 1.5 degrees Celsius climate change threshold falls short. Countries agreed at the 2015 Paris Climate Accords to act to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. But that threshold has almost been breached, increasing the urgency of reining in greenhouse gas emissions. The FAO roadmap, published during the COP climate talks in 2023, omits key interventions with demonstrated potential to improve environmental and health outcomes, notably reducing animal-sourced food production and intake, the experts said. Dr. David Laborde, FAO's technical lead of the roadmap, said the commentary was a major simplification of the agency's report. Well, that does it for international news. Jerome Paul Sonko will take us through the press review.
And well, with the press review, we start off with what the New Vision is highlighting today. Uganda enters middle income as the UN salutes country on strong performance. Also read about that report in the New Vision today, as at the front page there is a pictorial of the Indian High Commissioner to Uganda, Makerere University's Vice Chancellor, and then the Prime Minister Robin Nabanja and the UN Resident Coordinator Susan Ngoji Namondo and UNDP Resident Representative during the launch of the 2023-2024 Human Development Report at Makerere University yesterday. Now, furthermore, anniversary memories as New Vision blows 38 candles. Read about how it started and how far they've come. Now, obituary, Bishop Senyimba's candle burns out. Read about the life of Bishop Senyimba. Also in court, Equity Bank officials charged over 62 billion shillings fraud. As fishing Museveni to withdraw army from Lex. And then in matters elections, Dokolo goes to polls today. Member of Parliament Segona, police recovers more cash that was lost from him. And then also read about Katikiro signing a youth pact with the Duke of Edinburgh. Still, more of the details are in the New Vision today. Now, elsewhere, we look at what the Daily Monitor is highlighting in the press review today. Mpuga and Bobby rift widens. Read about a divided house. Tension continues to build in the largest opposition party in parliament. Then also court says it's cruel and illegal to deny sex in marriage. More of that report is in the Daily Monitor today. Then UNDP says Uganda now in lower middle income status as UPDF gun used to kill and rob in city. Now, elsewhere, Dokolo chooses from Big Six in today's poll. Read about the Dokolo by-election that will be staged today in Dokolo. Now, we cross the borders to Kenya. The Daily Nation, health in crisis. Dispute patients suffer as government and doctors' union fail to agree on return to work formula. Now, housing levy faces yet another legal hurdle. Also, flu or COVID, doctors warning amid outbreak as surge in respiratory infections raises alarm in Kenya. Then carpet in strike threat over school cash delays as teachers vow to down tools in second term. Then matters politics, Raila goes slow on his attacks on Ruto. And lastly, from our press review, we look at what the Citizen newspaper is highlighting this Thursday. China out to cement status as biggest foreign investor. Then in the other news, Doreen turns passion for numbers into a thriving career as Zanzibar allocates blocks for gas and oil exploration as a private farm is set for Tazara operations. Then also, the East African Business Council unveils plan to double intra-regional trade by 2030. That is what the press is highlighting this morning in regards to our press review.
Well, we will take a short break and leave you with an inspiration song for the day, and we will be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Jason and Peter Morgan. Oh, yes. Hey, sending this one to the nation.
Right away!
I have a heart like a lion, strong like Mount Zion. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever get me down. My God and King, he never sleep. Always watching over me. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever get me down.
Well, every day I feel I'm fighting for my life in a pagan society. Hey, I have to trade it for my children and my wife, and I defend my family. Or from a political power, an economic tower, they control the church and school. Hey, and them I try them very best, just I keep I depressed and make I and I the fool. But I was taught to seek and learn. And so the system of man I won't fear it. Boom. And through the powers I man will stand firm. I never let them break my spirit, because I
have a heart like a lion, strong like Mount Zion. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever get me down. My God and King, he never sleep. Always watching over me. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever get me down.
trying to read and meditate and get wise. I learned to recognize a wolf in a sheep disguise. And Babylon has spread pure lies. But you can never stop your youth from rise. Not even this economy could ever drop me. I say a false prophecy, you can't flop me. I say no jacket and tie can come talk to I. No Babylon boy can ever stop me.
I have a heart like a lion, strong like Mount Zion. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever get me down. My God and King, he never sleep. Always watching over me. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever get me down.
To all my citizens of the world, well, if you're feeling like me and you're ready to take control and rule your destiny, come if we try it together like sister and brother. He rise like a brand new day. And if a dirty bad mind try to come stop we shine, we look at him and say,
I have a heart like a lion, strong like Mount Zion. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever get me down. My God and King, he never sleep. Always watching over me. So Babylon can't ever get me down. Can't ever.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the